probably know him. Everybody knows. He's Rolla High School graduate.
Mom decided she wanted to get out. Okay.
Kind of a recluse for years and years and years. And then his parents died. And he was just alone all the time. And he decided he was just going to start going places. And you can almost see him every place.
He is getting, I think he's getting the
Cool.
Of course, I haven't lived in Raleigh since 1997.
97.
And even then, I didn't live in town. I lived outside.
Yeah. Well, I moved back to Rolla in, I think it was 91 from Idaho. And before that, I was living in Texas. And I moved 23 times by the time I was 10. So unless I had my dad had
I will say, if anybody's interested in reading at open mic, we can go ahead and get sign up.
Was he in the military?
USGS, topographic engineer. So we mapped, moved.
Yeah.
I know John Freeland isn't coming because Ali has the stomach flu, and now John has the stomach flu.
Yeah. And then we moved to Rolla for 4 years when I was 10, and then we moved to DC suburbs
he was here,
when I was
and that was not,
18.
and I have no
My
idea.
mom passed away the first day of my
I have
senior
no
year.
idea where he's at now.
So we moved back to Rolla over Christmas break. Although a military family invited me to go ahead and live with them till I graduated, but I didn't want to be away from my family.
Right.
My
You
mom.
kind of like, you
like
don't
a
have a
time
hometown, do you?
Yeah, pardon me?
You don't have a hometown.
Just the United States.
You know, it's kind of interesting. Because most people have hometowns.
I guess Rolla, because it's the headquarters for USGS, but yeah. Well, so everybody knew me from 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade when I came back in my senior year. And so, like, they all knew me, and I couldn't remember everyone, but I remembered a lot of people.
Yeah. Why is there no other names on here?
No,
You
I'm
can say your
familiar
personal sign.
with that situation. I went to 15 different
I
schools.
don't remember what I read last time, so I don't know
2
what to read
elementary
this time.
schools each year till I was 10. 3 kindergartens.
What you read last
And then 2 each year when I was in elementary. And then while I was here, I went to.
Hi everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. Tonight we have the honor of having Agnes in the house with us to release her brand new book. Agnes is one of the pillars of this community. She comes a lot of the times and reads at our open mic nights, so we're very happy that we can share this moment with her as a featured reader on her newest book.
Caitlin, thanks for the introduction. Mark, Tiffany, Jeremy, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here. It's almost exactly 3 years that I was in the previous iteration of this event for the release of Horror's Land in 2019. So great to be back and to read you from a Coracle for Dreams. And the first thing I want to say is what's a coracle? Because that's not a very common word, and a coracle is a boat. It's I read it's the oldest boat that humans had made. It's a wicker frame with a hide over it. The word origin is, I think, Scotch and Welsh. So, and I figure I start with the poem that gives the book its title, A Coracle for Dreams. On the way to the river, we pass the tie-dye shop. Swirls and spirals twist on the fabric. I am a hippie at heart. We listen to Neil Young. It takes me back to Oregon. For a decade was only tape. We played it on all our drives up the Mackenzie Pass Road. Mountains and life seemed limitless then. I watch a leaf sail through the air, land on the water, float away like a little boat. A coracle, just large enough to hold a dream. a dream just light enough not to sink it. So the poems in this book are, I'm going to look that after this poem. No.
You should.
Oh, yeah.
The poems in this book have to tell a story of immigration, both sides of a coin. Immigration, a story of goodbyes, of leaving things behind. And so I'm going to read you a few poems about that. Flotsam. Ember necklace and my grandmother's silver cross. A dried carnation from my prom bouquet. Ribboned letters from old lovers. Notebooks with poems written 30 years ago in another town. A leather pouch I carried around my neck. A brass key that opens no lock I know. A photograph of the house on the hill that stands now empty, where my voice still echoes, unheard, 5,000 miles away. By the way, the photo on the title page on the inside here show you that. Just I picked it up. So that is my childhood home on that photograph. The house features prominently in quite a few of these poems. So leaving things behind and means missing a lot. In the first few years, I was so homesick, and homesickness is so for several years, and the homesickness is worst around the holidays. First Christmas in Missouri, I miss the carols, the boys' choir singing Bach's Christmas oratorio, Mom's collection of wooden nutcrackers, the fat little angels with their green wings, Christmas pyramids, Herrnhut paper stars, mulled wine at the Christkindl market. I find Lebkuchen at Aldi, imported from Germany. I do not like Lebkuchen, but they smell of cinnamon, anise, and home. That winter, we are eating Lebkuchen well into March. So my hometown is Dresden, and that was founded in over 800 years ago, and used to be the capital of our state of Saxony. And there was culture shock. There was a lot of culture shock. This poem talks about that. This town does not inspire love songs. Unlike the stately city that was home, this town does not inspire love songs, does not enrapture painters, and composers don't dedicate their symphonies to it. 800 years of history I traded for 150. Cobblestones for asphalt, and sandstone balustrades for clapboard. Traded the opera for the town band, where old men in lederhosen and red knee-highs play on summer Thursdays on the courthouse lawn. We really have the town band. I was just talking to Mimi about being the one who goes away and tries to maintain the connections, the one who left. Like water flowing downhill, letters now travel only in one direction. Life goes on for those who stayed. A circle was one person missing, is still a circle. The one who left floats, fragile tethers frayed by the teeth of time and distance. After some years, even the Christmas cards remain unanswered. So we went back every year to see family, and some things you just can never shed. Rewired. In Mom's kitchen, Grandma's measuring cup is still on the shelf. Her nutmeg grater hangs from its hook. For sugar and salt, we still use the little wooden shovels. I set the table with the familiar blue and white dishes. The placemats my sister and I weaved that Christmas, we got balloons. In the pantry, I still reach for the light switch on the left, for it no longer is. Dad rewired the kitchen 20 years ago. I cannot rewire my brain, cannot train my hand to reach to the other side. A true story catches me every single time I go into that pantry. And some things do change. So when you go back to the country year after year, it is not the country that you've left. Everything becomes different. So I have a colleague who talks about retiring back to Germany, and we are like, he's gonna be in for a big surprise because it is not the Germany he left. Vineyard in Dresden. The path between the ivied walls is paved in sandstone. Grass grows from the cracks. I follow the trails of childhood. The cobwebbed door has not been opened in a long time, but someone cleared the steps leading to it. It's the door. I climb the stairs into the vineyard, breathe history, mine and the land's. Lush and green, the grapes promise a rich harvest. Below, the river sings a love song to the city that is no longer mine. 18 years change a person and a place. Not even the trees are the same. The drought felt the old oak in the clearing we called the witches' dance hall. But the hills and the river are still there and dearer to me than the castles and cathedrals that lure the tourists. And the summer light through the maples remains unchanged, as all else grows old and distant. And the worst part of the growing old is when you see your own parents age, and it becomes more pronounced because you only see them so infrequently. The yew trees with their bitter berries. The house sleeps behind curtains of wine leaves. The black and white tiles lay crooked and cracked on overgrown path. I see once a year my parents' faces as in a flip book that makes time visible and foreshadows endings. The garden dozes in the deep, dark green of rhododendrons and of the yew trees with their bitter berries. So immigration is also a story of finding a new home and getting used to a new place. And I once was here in Belle before a reading where we still were over at Ed's and Eva's, and on the water tower there were 2,000 starlings, and I know people hate the starlings, and we have the starlings due to men by the name of Eugene Schiffelin, who thought it would be fantastic to bring to the US all the birds that Shakespeare mentions in his place. And in 1890 he brought 60 starlings to Central Park in New York City, and now we have 200 million of them. Involuntary immigrants. It is snowing. The bluebirds, the chickadees, titmice, and nuthatches puff up against the cold, throng the feeders, peck at suet and sunflower seeds, desperate for the oily goodness in this bitter winter. The starlings, too, plump their speckled feathers and descend on the feeders, greedy for grains and seeds. I will put out extra. There is enough for the starlings too, who are as cold as the bluebirds, the chickadees, titmice, and nuthatches. revered as harbingers of spring in my homeland, lured with special birdhouses. The starlings did not ask to be brought to another continent, be reviled as non-native invaders, and that they thrive in their new land. How can I fault them for that? So when you come here, you just have to get to know things, have to become familiar with places, and for me, nature plays a very big role, and I want to know what surrounds me. So this poem is called Naming. My first day here, it snowed, and birds like drops of blood sat in the gray-green branches of a tree. I was a stranger, did not know the names of trees or birds. Naming is knowing. Naming means to tell apart, to be familiar with the detail that separates one from the other. Familiarity breeds love. I learned to name the cedars and the cardinals, anemone and great blue heron, spiderwort and white geranium. Every year I learn new names, white avens, thimbleweed, rose-breasted grosbeak. Every one another root I grow here. So you all know that I'm the hiker, and you have heard me read nature poems a lot, and this has a bunch of nature poems in them, so I'll read you a couple of those. And this poem is entitled Status Report. I walked along my creek, which is a term of endearment. One does not own a creek anymore, that one owns the clouds. Stood on a limestone slab, watched the ripples on the water, the reflection of leafless trees, darting minnows. I moved an earthworm from the path onto the grass. The robins were eating red berries off a vine whose name I did not know. 5 crows held council in an oak tree, flew away when I approached. Something has been tearing the Osage oranges to yellow shreds. I found a purple leaf and a snail shell. More I did not accomplish, besides standing still in amazement at the colors of the cardinals. And sometimes we have adventures, and this is about an adventure we had kayaking last year. The poem is called Ferrying Turtles. On the logs, the turtles dry in the sun. Pooders met turtles' sliders. As I approached, they drop one by one into the river and swim away. A box turtle is swept along, bobs up and down, helpless, wiggles her feet and stretches her neck, trying to keep her head above water. I reach her with my paddle. Scoop her up, she slides off with a splash and floats further. Disappears under a downed tree. Reappears, struggling downstream. I overtake her, grab her by the shell, plop her into my kayak. Ferry her to the shore, carry her inland to a patch of grass. She takes off swiftly. No sign of hesitation or bewilderment. Someday, she may tell the other turtles about her encounter with God. So the Ozarks also tell a story of migration. You all know that there are left homesteads, and this poem is about a homestead down in Arkansas. It's called Stonewall in the Ozarks. Dream-driven, they came from the east, settled by the creek in the Valley of Promise. Patient hens piled river rocks, marked the homestead, a testament to hope. The land shriveled the hope, broke the promise. Briars conquered the pasture, shrubs swallowed the garden, vines the barn. Inside the farmhouse, wallpaper scraps, a broken shelf, the shards of pink porcelain cups. The wall remains, trees grow in the gaps. The low sun slants a last beam over the stones. The sweet gum leaves are fallen stars. So a lot of those poems are about my parents. I was very fortunate that they could visit me a few times. This poem is about my mother's last visit, Shadow. That was in 2018. It is the hour of the bats. They swoop black across purple sky between the trees that swallow the bats into blackness. My mother and I sit on the porch. Every night we watch the fireflies appear and dance on the grass. We cannot decipher their coded signals. Mom delights in the fireflies and the bats on the moon, as if she sees them for the first time. The goodbye leans a shadow over us. We both know this is her last visit. We don't talk about grave things, only point out the bats and drink the last of the wine. In 2020, my father had a stroke, and normally we would just get on the plane right there and then, but you all know that we had a pandemic and there was no travel. Waiting for news from the hospital. She's on her knees, scrubbing the kitchen tiles, square by gray square. The dark lines of grout meet at right angles. She erases a splatter of tomato sauce, a dusting of flour, a smear of mud scours until the floor is so clean she wants to lie down cheek to the cool tile and breathe the faint smell. She wipes her forehead, stands up and paces the empty house, looking for something else to clean. Your seats over here, my grab a seat.
Didn't want to jump in while you were talking.
Swallowing reflex. Her father has stopped eating. Her mother calls. They must decide on a feeding tube. The night she finds herself in the grocery store, filling her cart with cheese, chocolate, chips, as if she could eat for him, as if she could stuff the hole that is opening in their lives, threatening to swallow them. Love, after 50 years, is an old woman waiting the bus for an hour to a nursing home. Her husband does not speak. She does not have much to say, but today his fingers closed around her hand. She stays until the end of the allowed time. She will have just missed the bus. She wanders the deserted cobblestone streets of the small town. Most shops closed at 5. A bakery is still open. She buys a cookie to eat on the way. It is autumn. The dusk falls early. She rides home through the dark. When she steps into her empty house, she hopes she will get to do this again soon. Silent days. She collects the words that dribble from her husband's lips. A spoonful each day to water her parched life. She soaks them up to sustain her through the monotony of nursing. Some days he gives her an entire sentence. Some days only a shake of head. Perhaps he does not feel there is anything left to say, or nothing that justifies the effort. Sometimes she still glimpses his sense of humor in a phrase. Those days feel lighter and less lonely. The Cosmic Bank of Good Deeds. My mother's garden lies untended. I sent her flowers over the internet. My hands help another woman on a different continent mow her grass, plant her tomatoes. Small deposits into the cosmic bank of good deeds. I hope Mom can make a withdrawal. That other woman is Mimi, so for those who know her. And so I got a lot of, while this all was going on, just going out to Mimi's farm and working with her was a lifesaver. Today we burned the field. It started small. 1 match, 3 orange tongues that licked the yellow grass. The fire grew way through the dried stems of last year's asters and cornflowers, devoured leaves, nibbled at the indigo bush. A hungry beast that roared and reared up when it reached the switchgrass made us shrink back from its fury. A breeze awoke and drove the flames towards the neighbor's pasture. We raced to beat them into submission with heavy shovels. Later, the twigs curled in the ashes. Here and there, the nests of smoke still smoldered. And high above, flocks of snow geese traveled northward. We heard their cries before our eyes could find them. So the only thing I could do is call, so I've been talking to my mother every day. There's always the consideration that there is a time difference between here and Germany. This poem's called Time Difference. At lunch, I call my mother before the evening nurse comes to ready Dad for the night. I sit in sunshine, high above a hawk soars. My day just passed its zenith. My mother's day is almost spent. Soon shadows descend, usher in the darkness. If I have one bit of advice for you, it is nag your parents and grandparents to write down their memories while they can. Where do the memories go? I asked Dad to write down his childhood memories. The story of my grandparents, how he met Mom. He bought a dictation machine he could never get to work. He started typing, read me the first page, lost the draft. Too late to begin again. The memories are imprisoned behind his brow, a life sentence. If they are still in there, perhaps they have shriveled, like the spiderwort flowers that bloom one morning and dissolve into purple liquid, enclosed by the sepals, like a brain enclosed by a skull. Inheritance. To remember my grandma, I asked for the mushroom painting that hung in her drawing room. Chanterelles and ball leaves piled on the wooden table, bursting out of the frame, a stoneware jug heaped with blackberries. Dad wanted to keep it, said I would inherit it. He did not say when I die. When I was 6, he taught me to find rat caps under the birches, chanterelles by the side of the path under the pines. He showed me the bay bolies with their brown velvet caps, how to press their spongy underside, wait for the telltale blue. I marched home proudly with our finds. Dad despised the taste, could not stand the smell of mushrooms. My mother likes them. Now she can cook them whenever she wants. It feels like a betrayal. And this is really, this next poem is called Anticipatory Grief, and that is really a technical term. So there's really a thing, Anticipatory Grief. You have learned there is a word for this. Mourning someone who is not yet dead. Liminal space between hope and letting go. Lingering at the threshold of loss, no man's land you must cross on your own, afraid to reach the other side. Choirs of stars. The creek is a mirror. I wake in darkness before the moonrise, see lights glimmering around me like the eyes of nocturnal creatures, the reflections of stars on the still water. Choirs of stars sing above me, frequencies beyond human hearing. If we could sleep under these stars each night, healing might be possible. In my house, the cat curls up in her basket. She comes inside now that the nights are cold. This may be the last summer. She still eats. She moves slowly and does not wander far anymore. Mostly, she sleeps. In my childhood home on the other side of the ocean, my father lies in his bed. For his birthday, I send him flowers. They will cheer up my mother. My mother bakes a cake he will not eat. Dad mostly sleeps. Autumn will soon gild the leaves. The swallows have left their nests in the cliffs, pilot their way south. Seeds fall and lay themselves to sleep in the soil. They need to lie in the cold winter so they can germinate. Maybe there's a metaphor in that. This next poem was the first couple of years back, the last picture. The house sighs. It has heard it before, how the stairs creak under halting steps more slowly each day. With dusty eyes, it looks out on the leaf-strewn patio. The pathway between the hedges has grown narrow. The house remembers laughter giving way to hushed voices, rooms that feel heavy with sadness. After a long silence, the bustle of strange feet, then emptiness. On the wall, a faded rectangle remains, shadow of a green landscape. I don't usually pray. My father is still alive when I switch off the phone, board the plane. My mother pleads with him, hang on, wait, just one more night. I ask for a glass of wine. I don't usually drink. Today I hope it dulls the edge of grief, lulls me to forget where I travel. Over the Atlantic I dissolve in weeping. I don't usually cry. The flight attendant asks if she can do anything. Make the plane fly faster. I keep checking the flight status. I will search my sister's face when she picks me up. I don't usually pray. I pray to be in time. This is a poem I've never read anywhere, so I'm just going to read it to you. This is my first time I'm reading. It's a poem impossible to type. The day after my mother's birthday, the telephone keeps ringing. Mom thanks the callers for their well wishes. When they ask how she's doing, she tells them her husband passed away that morning. Shocked silence, tears, mumbled words of sympathy. All day, the sky is like glass, the air transparent. The sun is setting when they carry my father down the stairs. We extinguish the candles, leave the vase with the white flowers, the mirror shrouded in a linen sheet. Through the open window, cold air creeps into the room, into our bones. My mother believes in God. I do not. But when I look up at the Milky Way, I have a sensation of eternity. I want to finish with the last poem of the book. It's called Witch Hazel. I have not written in a long time. There's too much to say, and I do not know where to begin. Let me just tell you what I did today. I fed the cat, sat with my coffee cup and watched the sun rise. I went to the woods. It was cold. I found frost flowers at noon under the deep blue Ozark winter sky. I walked by the creek to the old mill little more than a shack. The water rushed down red rhyolite rocks, and the witch hazel started to bloom. They smell so lovely. I hope they are blooming where you are too. Thank you very much for coming. And I do have copies for anybody who wants a copy. I think we're taking a brief break now before the open mic, so if anybody wants the book, and I also have copies of the others. So.
The only other thing I'll add to that is if you have books of your own and you want to put them on the table, please do. There is also wonderful artwork out there for sale, so please take a look at the 3 tables that direction. We'll take about a 10-minute break. if I don't remember it, you'll have to tell me.
This chair's not ergonomic.
Those chairs are. We do have comfy chairs right here. Somebody can sit on this end of the couch if they like.
I'm taking a comfy chair.
Comfy chairs.
I'm gonna take the.
Have at it, Gary. Go ahead.
She's like, ah, I got it.
How you doing?
Does anybody else need to sign up for open mic?
Yeah, I did it.
Send my.
It's like, I'm gonna be right behind
Yell at these people out here. Anybody else need to sign up?
I know,
Want to
that's gonna be
sign up?
like.
This chair and this
I
chair.
love it.
So,
It's fun.
Ed, what's that highway that the house is on between Chamoy and Morrison?
100.
Is it 100?
The highway that runs between there is 100, sorry, I assumed.
Going down?
I don't actually know what house you're talking about. The highway
You
that
know
runs between
the
there
house.
is.
That one house.
okay, good to know.
Yeah, it's 100. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and get started for anybody still left in that other room. Anybody come?
No one's.
That's right. I feel like an auctioneer. I am not an auctioneer though, so don't ask me to start chanting because I won't. It'll be a bad time. I'm not going to go in the order of the list though, if everybody's okay with that. With the exception of the one person who's requested to be last. Just as a heads up. So I think I'm going to start with Brenda. So if we can welcome Brenda. Make sure to tell me about that. Turn your stuff back on.
So the first one I'm going to read is called The Cold War Couples. Undisclosed, this resolute, optimistic, playful space where magnified causes lost their point and the debate continued to weigh down logic. Where Barbie flirts with Ken, who is not really a G.I. Joe, and Barbie only dreamed of being Barbie. So instead they revealed they were not Dick and Jane, of course, but maybe Nancy and one of the Hardy Boys locked in the pages of many children's ideas and aspirations, and where their children played with potato head, hula hoops, and slinkies, who thought it was hot outside and that the grass was green, but it was really just a cold, cold war of saber thrashing words. This is called The Chocolate Poodle. Open mic at the Park Avenue Hotel in Hot Springs. The old woman looked weary and walked stiffly as she arrived through the side door with the chocolate poodle. Its eyes were fearful, tentatively scanning the room, unsure, stepping and tapping on the marble floor like a nervous bodyguard. They crossed the lobby. She placed the dog in the elevator and closed an old metal gate half the height of the elevator. We watched as she did this. She read her poem. Then the Yugoslavian read a poem about George Burns. The Dollar General. Standing in line at the neighborhood DG, 6 feet apart or closer, bags of kitty litter, melatonin, notebooks, guy with black tattoos fading green, Heath bars, glancing eye contact, toilet paper, cashews, girl with piercings heavy with bling, light bulbs, small talk, and cat food. Good old boy with a package of diapers, energy drinks, smiles, beans, and aluminum foil, giggling teens with bags of Takis. The lines for parking spaces are worn and barely visible. This one's called Watching the Stars. Late night decaf, stirred sweet with a fork, cooled, swirled, in bubbling air below the surface. No cold steps, just an open window, enough to breathe and for Cat to watch the stars.
Thank you so much, Ms. Burdett. Okay, I think we'll bring up John Clayton next, former Belle Poet Laureate.
I should be able to walk with glasses, but because I wore bifocals for years, but not lately. You know, all of us, when we get old, I'm a lot older than Agnes is, but I had parents too. And both of my parents are gone. And you know, there's always that question of, you know, what would I like to have to remember them by? And for me, I only wanted two things that my mother had. One was a flour shifter that was worn out, it has holes in the bottom of it. And one was a cowbell, which I don't know why she liked it, but she did. And so those are the two things I wanted, which I got. This poem is called Mama's Biscuits because from the time I can remember until I left home when I went into the military, my mother made biscuits 3 times a day. Every day, 3 times. That's what we didn't have light bread, what I call light bread, raised bread, with biscuits. Mama made biscuits 3 times a day. She started every morning that way. It was like breathing for her. Put the ingredients in a bowl and give it a stir. It was just her job. About that, there's no doubt. Just sift some flour on the table and turn the dough out. Don't work it too much. That will make it tough. That old sifter has some holes in the screen. At least 20,000 pans of biscuits that sifter has seen. Turn the handle and the flour falls out. Those biscuits were good. About that, there's no doubt. The biscuit pan is full of dents. Can't buy a new one, have to save a few cents. Those battle scars come from years of use. On top of the biscuits, smear some bacon juice. Pop them into the old wood stove. It has to be oak from the back 40 Grove. Splitting cookwood is a pain from the past. It has to be oak so it will last. She helped us practice our times tables and spelling words too. Making the gravy was love for you. She fried lots of sausage and eggs. It takes a lot to fill a growing boy's legs. The oven door opens and the biscuits come out. Thinking about it, my saliva runs out. It floods the room, that delicious smell. My mother's biscuits are a memory that's easy to tell. This piece, I don't want to be too morbid, but this piece is about a couple that I knew in Florida. Dawn and I used to go down to Florida in the wintertime and stay a couple of months, and we stayed in an RV park. And Joe was the guy's name, and Ray was his wife's name, and they were kind of a strange couple, but they loved one another. And he got cancer, lung cancer, and this was written just before he died. It's called Heartbreak. She idles through the trailer park. He stopped loving her today, blaring on the radio, tears streaming down her face, holding a big boy-sized Bloody Mary. We know what the problem is. We know we cannot change anything. Her anchor, her man, the love of her life is dying. He didn't want to spend money on insurance. He didn't go to the doctor until he was coughing up blood. Too late, they said. She's angry. She hurts. She's afraid. She doesn't know what she will do. Someone in the trailer park called the management about her driving. They were lying. She hates them. They should keep their dick suckers closed. Each of us gave her a hug and say things will get better. We know we're lying. She knows we're lying. She looks ahead to see what is there. All she sees is darkness. A lot of my poems have to do with people that I've met or people that I know. This poem is about an old guy from the RV park in Florida, whose name was Tom Vojta, like vote except F-O-G-T. And, well, the poem is kind of self-explanatory. It's called The Microphone Man. An American flag shirt and a gold bangle, slip-on deck shoes and a cowboy hat, sitting on his head at a cocky angle. He's not very big, and he's sure not fat. In fact, he's a skinny little runt. But he's all in. He's not one to punt. He winters in Florida like other old men because the cold hurts his joint, and that's no sin. He goes to bed early and gets up at dawn. His sleep is restless, and he dreams of times that are gone. The young men strut around and make the cat call, but this old guy just sits at the picnic table with the other old men and says from the side of his mouth, "Hey y'all, look at that caboose. If I was younger, I'd get some of that goose." He thinks he's a star, more like a dog chasing a car. The audience is captive and has no choice. He loves talking in the sound of his voice. Listen up, folks, pay attention. There ain't no silence and there ain't no tension. Everyone laughs and keeps on talking. He shuffles his feet and keeps on walking. Along about dark, it's karaoke time, so it's down to the clubhouse to get in line for $1 tacos. Isn't that grand? Where's it at? Forget the band. I need to talk. I'm the microphone man. And I'll tell you one more. This is kind of a inconsistency in the way people think. It just sometimes strikes me. Don and I used to stay in a place called Hudson, Florida, which is not too far from Tampa. And there were quite a few homeless people there, and they had this place near the post office that had a lot of saw palmettos. And it was like a jungle in there, and homeless people would go in there and spend the night, and nobody knew they were there. Well, until some unwise person moved a couch out to where they could sit in the sun, and people going to the post office could see them, so they run in bulldozers and bulldoze all of the underbrush down so these people didn't have any place to stay. Now, in this trailer park they stayed in, there were all these feral cats, which the same people who were so up in arms about the homeless people near the post office, kept feeding these feral cats. So the trailer park was full of feral cats. And there's always some tension going back and forth between people about that. And I just thought it was strange that the very same people who didn't want homeless people near the post office kept feeding feral cats. So, and then somebody decided that they'd had enough, and so they started doing something that caused them to die, which I'm not sure what they did. But this poem is called Cat Murders at Winter Paradise. Winter Paradise is the name of the RV park. 7 cats are gone, erased, wiped out, terminated, killed dead, murdered. It wasn't even the fake news. Probably a Clinton conspiracy. Just found lying on the ground, cold and stiff, undignified, and dying where they had no right to die, dying as homeless trespassers on land of people who don't even like cats as pets or steak. Yes, they were homeless and didn't have regular jobs. Just lazy, plain lazy, lying in the sun and depositing hair and fleas on the steps of non-cat owners. I've seen them stalking mockingbirds, but not once have I ever seen one catch a mouse. But then they don't need to work. The right-wing socialist radicals give them free food and insist that we're responsible people. Let them sleep under our trailers, which we know leads to slovenliness and irresponsibility. The mainest men just threw them in the dumpster like trash. What are you going to do? It's those right-wing socialists that are the problem. If the welfare would stop, those cats would disappear into the brush and alleys like homeless people do and not bother anybody.
Get a job.
Now tax dollars will be spent investigating these cat murders. Countless hours of overtime. A waste of money, if you ask me.
Thank you very much, John. Okay, I think we'll ask, I'll get my words together here in a second, Mac Thorne to come up.
Usually I don't like to read the same thing in one place too many times, so I'm going to go back to like a bunch of older stuff. First thing I'm going to start out with is from my book Fatal Mullet. Moved recently, and it kind of reminded me of this, kind of put me in that same headspace a little bit. It's called Moving Day. So, extended escape, screech like car brakes, no time to fold up, decompress, organize, or file. Movement becomes disjointed with purpose. Gravity becomes evident with each inching mile. Sit on the floor to catch my breath. Notice for the first time a stain on the ceiling tile. Every home has its stains, some hidden behind couches or under floorboards. You could paint over them, but you would have to drive down to the mega-sized store with its mega-sized parking lot and its mega-sized customers. Ask the worker with his mega-sized frown, "Hey, excuse me, where's the paint department?" "Aisle 3, okay, thanks." Did he have a lazy eye? It wasn't like totally cocked or anything, just like so painfully slightly off on one side. Each side is one side. Which side? Fuck, what stage left? Right, that one. I didn't see it. Well, it was. And that's what makes it so off-putting. And you can't tell at first, but you know in your gut, something is off. Like when people don't have eyebrows? Exactly. Weird. Well, I didn't see it. Okay, here it is. This is the color. Buy the mega-sized paint and the mega-sized brush. Wait in the mega-sized line. Buy a mega-sized Snickers. Turn on the radio for the drive home. Can't think of anything new to listen to. NPR is losing its touch. Can't beat Fox News at being Fox News, I guess. Try parallel parking in 2 different spaces before you give up and park down the block. Can never get this door open. Top lock, right. Bottom lock, left. Hard push. The wood frame with rusted nail slot swings open. I am welcomed by the silhouette of my shadow on the other side of the room. It sits right smack dab on top of the stain. Shit better be worth a deposit, but who am I kidding? Nobody ever gets their deposit back. Maybe if I rewrite that poem, I should like kind of specify as to who I'm talking to in that poem. It's really just me. This next one is called Link Card Kind of Luck, and I think oftentimes when people talk about enlisting, they give a romantic answer as to why they enlisted. They're like, oh, well, my grandpa did this, and my father did that, and that kind of stuff. And even in those cases, I think most people want to hear the romantic answer. So this is an honest answer, and it's called link card kind of luck. I woke up that morning in my car with the seats around me filled with boxes and junk. My hair grown long, not for appeal, but from lack of scratch. I gave up on looking for a job and started looking for papers to sign and seedy types with promises and dotted lines. I rode down to the Armed Forces Fly Trap, a strip mall with variety of choice for those with lack of trust funds, a real suburban horror. I pulled on each door, the Army, the Marines, and the Air Force, shaking each door handle with no response from the other side. All the doors were locked and the lights were turned off. But two cats in Cracker Jacks, smoking Camels, watched the sad dance, knowing well and then they had caught one without having to cast a net. What's going on, buddy? They beckoned from the fly trap. I'm looking for a meal and some papers to sign, was my reply. This one's called Rabbit's Foot. It's, it is. It's called Rabbit's Foot. Chicken stock added by the cup. Tomato sauce dropped into the pot. Rice and beans glimmer in grease. And red rice pork chops taste like bluegrass and folk tunes. A memory, a distant place. Inside a kitchen by her side, knee high, tugging at her sleeve for a taste. A hug and a kiss and something to wipe my face, sweet like pineapple bundt cake. I was born during the flood of 93, so my folks treated me like I was a curse, the cause of their bad luck. But my grandmother held me close, like a lucky rabbit's foot, a blessing from a quiet prayer and a lightning storm. This one's called Trailer Park Marina. I was talking with some people recently about this story that I have about this, and it made me want to read about it. So it's called Trailer Park Marina. Every time it rained at the Holiday Mobile Home Park, the park would flood. Could have been the lack of infrastructure, or that it sat between a lake and a few rivers. Sometimes it wouldn't be so bad, not to get too high, but enough to make the place smell worse than before. In the spring, the water would reach up to the windows and leak through the screen door, peeking in to see what kind of condition the lost children of Eden are in. The holler would turn into a white trash marina. Single wides looked like boats huddled in the bay and at any moment could be cast away into the brown sea. I had a minimum wage job that I had to be at. And my 97 Mercury Cougar couldn't take the tide. The family I lived with, the husband and the baby father, would drive their super lifted trucks in front and become my trailer park Moses, parting the seas so I could get to that minimum wage job. I have often found much more kindness in those with little to give than those with mansions, pensions, and trust funds. They steal, cheat, and lie, and let us not forget they were the ones letting us drown in the first place. And this is the very last. Let me do this last one. And this is just one about spring. It's called Midnight Special. Play Otis Redding and set my coffin adrift along the river Styx. I can't see nothing beneath this crescent moon. April breeze lets me know I'm not alone as it swims between reflections of familiar strangers. I cry, why was I the one? $5 red wine, candles glowing soulful harmonies, sweat-stained pillowcases clenched until knuckles turn white, cigarettes set adrift at red lights after midnight, green onions growl black cold exhaust, red meat juice cools warm red lips, manic pirouettes blossom orgasm tantrums. Rejoice, the sun has returned.
I think next we'll have Daphne come up. this your first time reading here?
No, I've been here, I think, a couple times, so it's been a while.
Okay.
She's a gumbo bottoms gal.
So I recently quit I was in childcare for like 5 or 6 years, and I recently quit because of, well, short answer is because of ideological differences. And this is sort of going into that. It's called Indigo, or Sanitation at the Child Factory. Rubber rocks, plastic, flowers, trunks, bark, canopy, facsimile, flesh dipped in chemical water, little families. Little houses, snug lid roofs, plastic boxes, little finger painted windows, doors that don't open. Little germs, all sunk under Roy G. Bibb's standardized colors with I omitted. Quell the questions you don't want them to answer, sort them out, straight little fingers. This next one is called Heretics. Hey, do you remember cicada shells spilling out from where my pink plastic pail cracked on the side? That time you stood on it to boost me into the big swing tree? How we both went tumbling but brushed it off, set off running with plenty more blood and breath left in our bodies to promise every summer on the horizon to each other. Hey, do you remember dandelion stems oozing sap from where your nails sunk in, the clumsy crowns we made of them that our mothers wouldn't let in the house? How we'd lie out sulking but blinked into being with sun-fueled transparencies against the clouds, our outstretched fingers praying hard to trace out new gods that never heard the word weeds. Hey, do you remember when we pretended not to fit to practice fitting? Do you remember sitting next to me and never wanting to leave? This one is called Ridiculous Inventions. And it's pretty new. Beyond skittish rooftops, chemical sighs, the ways and lines, buzz hum lights, my big sky is still there, still not mine, still bigger than anything devised, still winding round our shorn-spun sphere while we while through unkempt space, and time never kept by such ridiculous inventions as clocks and fences. And then if I could do 2 more?
Yep.
Okay. Eventually, this will all make sense. Eventually, where's my father's polarized eyes you could never quite see or get through to? All standard issue, white tinny runners and belted jean shorts. It pops a piece of spearmint gum into its mouth, sneezes, like I do, after partaking from the proffered path, asks, chew, chew, you, chew, you. Eventually, always had a funny way of not asking things. Eventually, this will make sense. Eventually, carries my mother's battered keepsake frame, no hope left in its chest, but nonetheless clatters together a Crackle Creek laugh you can hear from the opposite end of whatever building it's in. Talks until there's nothing left for anyone to say, but tells you a shout is no way to communicate. Eventually, never stopped long enough to hear an answer. Eventually, this will eventually pins itself to the black parade hoodie that I stole from my brother's closet, pokes itself ragged in among the worried tears for years, says nothing until it says everything, and then eventually kind of just disappears. and eventually can't make sense or come back because it was never here. This last one's called Making Tea. Let me just put the kettle on. Turn about mint green, squirt swish past, your hand flared out behind me. Little boots tapping the tacky cheap linoleum, your eyes wrapped around the shoulders that lift my arms, looped through the fingers that pull down mugs and boxes, affixed the lips that rattle off options and the tongue that slows to savor each plural pronoun that passes over. You are here. We are we. So let's steep.
Little couch, sorry. I have to ask a question for our regulars. Did anybody else close their eyes for half a second and think Sophia was back in the room? Because your cadence and the way that you write, amazing, amazing. Transported right back to Sophia. Okay, I think we'll ask Liz Hewitt to come up next. And everybody, give her a big round of applause. And I'm going to ask you to talk about your artwork first.
Okay.
I know.
I'm not a marketer. You might have noticed. So I don't know what to say about it. I do art, and it's out there on the table. Typically, I do watercolors or ink and colored pencil or pencil, just whatever. And people ask me what it is, and I can't tell you the answer to that because it's just whatever comes out of my head. So it's nothing. Maybe it's everything.
Don't ever refer to it as it's nothing again.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so what to read? Off. I feel off today. How do you feel off, they say? I feel just not right. My skin is too tight, constricting the nerves. My ears are too sensitive for the howling silence. My brain is clawing at my mind, trying to get out of this bony prison. My limbs are leaden like so many bags of last week's trash. I just feel off. So I work in probate law, and it can be a little bit depressing because you're just dealing with dead people's shit and their errors. And so this is a very brief poem. All these fucking heirs worried about their take. Bastards, your grandma is gone. Okay, so last time, if you were here, you know that I read a poem about my best friend dying, which happened 3 months after my mom died. And so I'm going to attempt to keep my shit together enough to read this poem about my mom. Oh, I don't know about that.
Take your turn.
She was iron, forged by pain and hardship. She was glass, colorful and sparkling, She was a torch, fiery and stubborn in the wind. She was a beacon. You could follow her to safety. She was a goddess of protection, gathering innocence under her wings. She was an odyssey, adventures never ending. She was a luxurious duvet, ever offering warmth, softness, and comfort. She was a pillow, a soft place for me to lay my worries down. She was a firework over too soon.
Next. He signed the list and was like, I wasn't actually signing the list, but I want to make sure that he had a chance to come here.
I wasn't supposed to sign there.
Well, I'm going to ask you to come up here and tell us what OAC is doing, what's going on with Barb's books, and the Belle Library. Just give a little plug, because we could not do this without this facility, this building.
Thank you. I'm the executive director for the Ozarks community.
Yeah.
And I want to applaud all of you because you're the first wave of COVID. Some of you have been, and this is so important. You're the first wave of creatives that are emerging. Own that. All of you have been quiet in your creative process, stalled, suppressed by the unknown and being uncertain about what the world will look like, what it does look like, how to operate in a healthy world, remembering what it used to be, wanting it to be maybe something better. So I just applaud you for being here and again being on the first wave of taking a chance, sharing. Some of us have forgotten how to do that. It was hard, and it's hard to get up here. And again, applaud you for sharing yourselves with us and the world. And I don't want to forget this. When you come here, please bring your book. Bring your books. Bring your artwork to sell, to share. Because this is the community that will support you and buy that. And that's what OAC is. OAC has that gallery down the street that exhibits artwork, contemporary and regional. Some of you in here have been exhibited here. We have independent publishers in our community that like Osage Arts community are OAC Books. There's 6 publishers in this community, 6 independent publishers in this community. Big deal. We have a residency program that we've been doing this for 19 years. Mac is our 169th artist that we've hosted. Larry Gowers is one of those artists. Brianna is another one of those artists. They're not all poets. Some of them are visual artists. a lot of different things. So if you come here in the bookstore when we're open, our person that's sitting behind the desk is a OAC artist in residence. We started the Art Center 9 years ago. That was our first little foray into the public, this Belle community. Then we started working with Friends of Belle Library, and we started Barb's Books 6 years ago. And this is kind of sort of the third location. And we've been doing programming like this programming for 5+ years. You are all product of that entire journey. Caitlin, this young lady that we saw tonight, Agnes, as she said, she was there at Belle Book and Kindle. They've all been on the journey with us, and many, many more that are in this room. That is art. Please, 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 when you go to work on Monday morning, when they ask you at the water cooler, what did I do this weekend? Please tell them that you were at an arts event over the weekend. And tell them about this place, because they're also emerging into this new world that is post-COVID, hopefully. So, and Osage Arts Community is part of that little thing that is art in this little place. But as you know, art is a big thing in our world, and we do that here. So I can talk to you a lot more about the nuts and bolts about what Osage Arts Community does, what Osage Arts Community is doing for this community in the region, and what it will continue to do. I will talk to you about that if you want. But if you don't want to, I'm really glad that you're supporting the arts. You're supporting yourself by being here as a creative person in this community. So important, so important. Believe in yourself, because we believe in each one of you. We need each other to be strong and to celebrate what we do. So I hope that's what you want. Thank you, everyone.
If you guys don't mind, before I bring up the last couple of readers, I'm going to read.
Yes, please.
This is my book, Deep Breaths, published by Happy Duck Publishing, one of the 6 publishers that Mark just mentioned. And I'm going to reiterate that it's Ed and Eva Happy Duck Publishing, because, you know, there was this article in the paper this week where somebody conveniently wrote themselves out of it and called himself some guy. So this is my some guy publisher right here, right here. Yeah, I'm not going to let him get away with that. Everybody who's talked to me, I'm like, yeah, some guy's actually Ed Gillard out of Belle. Just so you know, some guy. So I'd like to share one piece out of here tonight, and I'm going to read this one because just yesterday, I had somebody who looked at me, judged me on my size as a big person, and called me a fat bitch. I was like, wow, you don't know me. So this is called, yeah, I'm fat, but at least I'm not a dick. The hey fatty, yo lard ass from across the street tear at my skin, but I show no sign of weakness. I keep walking, holding back tears that threaten to stream down my face. These comments will leave invisible scars, wounds that cut so deep I will only ever see the fat girl in the mirror. They bleed every time I step foot on a scale, even when the number is going down, even when I'm feeling good. They twinge every time I look in the mirror and I tell myself that I'm cute. And I'm cute, by the way. I'm cute. Seeds of doubt planted soul deep that root and grow so large I can stand in the shade they cause. Every time I chop down that doubt tree, the roots have grown so deep that it cannot be completely removed. And people come by to make sure that it's watered properly. I think the next time I hear these calls, I'll be prepared. I'll know what my response will be, and my thick skin will not tear so easily. I know the comments will rake across my skin, and I will feel them no matter how hard I work. I will never be rid of the fat girl, but at least I'm not a dick. And I'm happy to say that when said person called me that yesterday, I was like, at least I'm not a dick. And I was like, okay, we're working on it, progress.
Good.
So the other one I want to read is called Be the Weirdo, because I just feel like everybody should be their own weirdo.
We are.
Exactly. And we should own that. And there's a lot of us who, we kind of hide our weirdness. And we're like, we don't want people to know that we're weirdos. But guess what? Every single person is a weirdo in their own way. And we should just own that and let it shine. So, be the weirdo. People may tell you that you're too much. That you're extra. You're outrageous. You're an outlier in society. Fuck them. Don't diminish your shine to please other people. Making yourself less for others does nothing but cause you pain and give them a false victory in their belief that they've made you conform. Embrace your eccentricities, all of your unique qualities that others frown upon. Rock the vibrant blue hair. Get all the tattoos that you want. Let your nerd flag fly. Wear multiple colors and patterns at the exact same time, and be that wonderfully weird weirdo. Besides, all that frowning will only give you the wrinkle lines that we talked about earlier. If people want to waste their time and energy judging you, let them. Your happiness cannot be defined by others' expectations. They themselves are allowing their happiness to be affected by placing those expectations on you.
Oh, all right.
Who hasn't been with us in a little while, so I'm happy he's back.
Hello, everyone. I'm just going to read 2 short ones today. They're a little old at this point, but it's nice to kind of, dig out old ones. Kind of discover some things lost, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So. Alright. Usually I'll just name the poems after the day I started writing them, you know what I mean? So, this, I guess, was an August poem. Maybe that'll reveal something. The hot rain, a gentle silhouette raising out of the field, the sun being swallowed by the trees, a child dreaming of winter. And still time moves beyond us, before us, swallowing whole minuscule life. Okay. A morning residue sits upon the brain, the trundling time, tomorrow, twin tomorrows, pointing towards the tangling of all eventualities. And father sings and mother dances, twin pianos, and all eyes are all rooted, are all seeing the sun die, palsied in the corner, decrepit and nude, bound to a chair. And will you fall again? And will your mind rot further? And will you forget me? Well, for a brief time your song pervades, twin pianos and love, and Maria is playing the heart-sick melodeon, and you are itchy from the morphine. And the miasma of your flesh and thoughts pervade the room. Thank you.
Before I call up our last reader, I have to ask, is there anybody who didn't get a chance to sign up who would like to read? Because she has requested, she is the last person.
Keelan, I just have something that I'll announce. Hello, all of you know me, but for those who don't, I'm Jeremy Smith. I'm Vice President for FWL, and I do most of the managing for the bookstore here. I just wanted to thank Caitlin for the excellent job that she did hosting. And then to let you all know that we have another open mic and poetry reading that will be here this upcoming Wednesday. And it'll be exactly like this. There'll be people coming, there'll be a performer. And there's more information about that on our Facebook page.
It's the Jersey invasion, guys.
Yes.
It's like 4 people from New Jersey coming in. You should come.
At 6.
I believe
Yes.
it's at 6. Yeah. I'm very excited for the Jersey invasion. At least that's what I'm calling it. I don't know what they're calling it. Okay, so our last reader of the night is actually going to be Carrie? Is it Carrie? Carrie.
I get so nervous up here, so just bear with me.
You got this. Just breathe.
Okay. It's called Broken. The words he uttered through the camper trailer door. Broken, broken, broken. She'd heard them, the words that is, and she felt so deeply that one word she couldn't comprehend the extent to which he muttered them. Broken, she had laid on the ground and cried out in the night. Broken every time he left her from a silly fight. Broken was her spirit that was once so full of life. Broken, why had he ever even made her his wife? Broken, she cried, rocking her cradled legs and arms as she recovered from the attack that had left bruises on her face. Broken was how he liked things, especially in this case. Broken were the promises he all too frequently made again and again. Broken, she lay shattered after he threw her to the floor. Broken for the times he had walked out of her life and her front door. Broken is what he strived for with each rejection that he placed. Broken from a life full of lies that she had to keep perfectly in place. Broken from loving someone that she could not trust. And broken was her heart from a love that had left her bust. Broken as she sat there repeating the same words she had said 7 years ago. Broken, she cried with a deep sadness over what he would never know. Broken, he instilled in her a hatred for herself. Broken, he had thrived and found his redemption. And broken, yes, she knew that word all too well. Broken, broken, as she repeated it again and again. Broken is how she felt each time she let him back in. Broken were all the vows he proclaimed before the Lord. And broken was the connection she had placed with him. Broken were her child's hearts each time she forgave him. Broken were the false illusions that she knew he really was. Broken were her bitter thoughts when he played the game again. Broken was her soul and beaten from his disrespect. Broken until he was sure that she had nothing left. Broken, broken, broken. God, she hated him. Broken, he had held himself in such a high regard. Broken from the abuse he simply placed with his words. Broken little pieces she looked at herself and saw. Broken every chance she gave him. Broken. Wait, broken wasn't what it was at all. The world he chose so eloquently from what she had said to him. Broken wasn't what he was. No, he wasn't broken up at all. Broken was just a word he used to manipulate her mind. Broken are the chains that once bound his life to mine. Broken is the hold that once held me to the manipulation and deceit. Broken, Lord, I lay these burdens gently at your feet. Broken is the bond that helped hold it all in place. Broken one day before the Lord, it will pour out from his eyes. Broken is how they'll find him that day. Broken, broken, broken. What more is left to say? Broken. She had allowed his disrespect. Oh, no, broken little pieces were all that she had left. Broken was her brain from all the stress that mounted up inside, you see, until her body attacked itself with epilepsy. Broken will never comprehend. Broken, broken, broken. She would just have to start again.
Thank you everybody for coming out to the open mic tonight. Remember, there are books from Agnes, Mac, and myself on the table. There's artwork from Liz out there. Please take a look. Talk to anybody who's here about the OAC, what they're doing, what artists are doing. If you're interested in publishing, we've got publishers in the building tonight. Talk to them. And have a great weekend and happy Easter, everybody.